Hey, welcome back to Invisible Machines. I'm Josh Tyson, a contributing editor here at UX Magazine, and I'm joined again by resident visionary Rob Wilson, CEO and co-founder of OneReach.ai. Rob and I are co-authors of the best-selling book, Age of Invisible Machines, and this podcast is where we continue our explorations of Agentic AI. Today, we're talking about Agentic commerce with Prakhar Mehrotra, the global head of AI at PayPal and a member of the Roundtable on Artificial Intelligence and Climate Change at the U.S. National Academy of Sciences. We had this conversation just a few weeks before Google and PayPal announced their partnership aimed at advancing agentic commerce. And the timing's exciting because Prakhar has spent years looking deeply at the ways technology affects consumers and businesses, including time working on applied AI for Walmart. In this conversation, we speculate on the shape of future marketplaces where machines have wallets and are bidding and setting prices. And we also discuss the ways that AI is reworking the plumbing of technology within organizations and how agent runtime environments hold the key to successful adoption of AI. Prakhar has a PhD in aerospace engineering from Caltech, and so we couldn't help but ask him about the critical role simulation plays in complex high-stakes industries like space travel and agentic AI. So now enjoy this very timely conversation with Prakhar Mehrotra.
I worked on this movie a long time ago, a different life, called Galaxy Quest. It was like this play on Star Trek.
Great movie. Yeah.
It's a funny story because the premise is that some aliens got a hold of a TV series, watched the whole thing, and in their planet, there's no such thing as lying. So they assumed it was a documentary.
See.
And then their planet came in peril, and they came to Earth to find the crew to help them save their planet.
I see.
So they land here. And I always think, if you're an alien and you just went onto, you like intercepted our internet traffic and you just sucked it all in, right? And you just took all of it and then consumed it and then came down here, you would be ChatGPT.
Yes, that's it. You described ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You describe a large language model.
Yep. And you don't necessarily have the depth behind the words. You're just mimicking and parroting what you sucked in.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, I've always thought about these like core skills when it comes to AI, and I think about my kids, and I realize like, okay, one of the most important things for them to be independent as an adult is to get them a bank account, teach them how to manage money and be able to spend money. And if they couldn't transact in the world, if they couldn't spend money, it would significantly limit their independence, if not like completely remove it. And so I keep thinking like, what happens when we give our AIs a wallet and a bank account and they can go out and spend money? It's profound. This would make them significantly more useful, but also more impactful. We've got this like second consumer then, a human and an AI. And you're like, whoa, how do you market to AIs?
Correct, yeah.
They're not emotional. They're not going to react. Like that's when we know they're not human, is when we realize like our marketing's not going to work on them.
Unlock them, yeah. And that's an interesting point because humans, for us, marketing it brought some sort of an element of trust implicitly, right? Like over a long period of time, you kept on seeing and you built brand recognition. With AI, agents act on like the data, and they will act on the information that is provided. And what I don't know is how does, let's say I transacted with a particular brand today. Well, tomorrow will I still transact with the same brand because my data might be impartial. And human beings can operate in that impartial information, right? Like, I mean, we can connect the dots, right? Like we are implicit and sometimes we are irrational, right? Like we'll anyhow go by, we are emotional, right? And so this commerce is like a cocktail of million things going inside. And that's how you result in a transaction, while AI is purist.
Yeah.
It's like
And I
that
like
changes
how
the
you,
game.
yeah, and I like how you use the word transaction because like I don't remember who the economist was. I think it was like Nobel economist that broke companies down into like lowering transaction costs.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know, Josh, you might remember, but um, it's like what is a company ultimately, and what is the value of a company to a consumer? It's that they lower the transaction costs,
yeah,
essentially cognitive load
I'll- yeah,
to the consumer. And you're like, okay, well, that's a key part of what makes a business. If a business is literally lowering our cognitive load, and successful businesses succeed at doing that, and ones that fail are unable to do that. And then we look at AI that, like, if you align the incentives with who's providing the AI, it's like increased cognitive load. In other
correct.
words, more inference means more revenue,
More
right?
revenue, correct. Yeah, yeah,
So
correct.
now you've got like the inverse, like, oh, we have a system where the vendor providing it to you would encourage switching and
Yes,
would encourage you moving from one product to another just because it's cheaper, and would encourage you to find the random product in the world that took you 5 days
correct. Yeah.
to find that saves you 2 minutes a day, and it will take you like 10 years to actually make up the time. Um, so it's an
I think that's
interesting
the Kaus theorem. Ronald
Yeah, still
Kaus.
around the cows.
house.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by OneReach.ai, the runtime for AI agents. Their GSX platform provides turnkey private architecture and tools for building enterprise-grade agentic solutions. Recently, I worked with the team at OneReach to create an agentic companion for the second edition of Age of Invisible Machines. So now when you scan any of the QR codes found in either edition of the book, an agent is there to provide additional insight using a custom knowledge base. There's also a newsfeed feature with updates on Agentic AI, as well as this podcast, and a book resources skill that provides clickable galleries of footnotes from each chapter. All of it built using the revolutionary Generative Studio X platform. Learn more at OneReach.ai.
And my mental model was we have spent last 20 years in technology in primarily gathering, organizing, and distributing information on demand in various levels, right? Like, I mean, it was first about organizing information, like your Google got created, and then making it available instantaneously, right? Like storing information, like cloud came along, and then having it available like on demand, right? I mean, through cell phones and mobile
Yeah.
revolution, right? Like, and so we were in the information age, but the agency was still with humans, right? Like, I mean, the whole job of technology, including AI and machine learning at that point, was what was referred to as, was because human beings were typing mostly, and typing is inherently a low bandwidth task. So the companies were trying to figure out what does Rob and Josh actually want. And so the algorithms were trying to figure that out, and that was the role of machine learning at that time, right? Like, I can do, like, with our clicks, like, these are weak signals, how can I make a stronger signal? Last 2 years we have entered intelligence age, and that basically inverses this relationship, like, that you talked about, right? Like, that now maybe technology, AI is the agency, like, on a extreme limit, right? Like, if you talked about limit, right? I mean, if my objective function is well defined and on a spectrum of tasks that the humans do in a day, right? Like, I mean, look, AI is the agency, right? Like, and I think that's how I've rationalized, like, and why I think agentic commerce might become like a thing, right? And why the world is ready for
Yeah.
it.
I think I've been doing a lot of thinking about this because there's like the two sides of the spectrum of like, should they have agency? Should they not? Can they not? And, in AI, I find the more you dig in, the more like both things are always right, like yes
Yeah.
and no.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so confusing for everybody, is both things are correct. And I think when it comes to decisions or agency, there's like this hierarchy of decisions. There's not like decisions. It's not a flat, it's a
Correct.
hierarchy. And there's, what ink should I get from my printer? That's way down here. Then there's plan my vacation and where should I go? And that's way up here. And for each of us in each task, somewhere in the hierarchy, we're okay deferring.
Yeah.
And somewhere else, we're not okay. And it's not black and white. It's that AI is going to make for all of us different levels of decisions on hierarchy, depending on how lazy we are
Correct, yeah.
and our
that's
decision
why,
making.
yeah, and that's why I think intelligence is subjective, right? It's a very subjective, personal thing. While information was like universal, right? Like, I mean, yeah, or like tell me the facts, right? Or get me this information, right? And but like intelligence is like subjective, right? Like, I can bucket your things into three distribution of there is a bot buy get me my milk, grocery, like a
Yeah.
printer ink, right? On the there is an assistant, like I want to buy a laptop, help me get compare with all the laptops in the world, like when my budget is $1,800, and then on the other end is like a concierge, right? Like, I mean, yeah, I'm like tell me like I don't know like what's tell me like I want to plan my vacation this holiday, I don't know where to go, so help me.
Yeah.
Right, like it's like these abstract things, right? Like and like so and it's distribution of it. AI today allows human beings to operate on this whole spectrum.
Yeah.
You're not limited by technology.
And it's so weird for us because, like, what does a plane flight cost from Denver to California,
Yeah.
to San Francisco?
Yeah.
There's no price.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? When did you
Yeah.
go?
Yeah.
Like, we're already in this world where, like, it's not simple. Like, what is the cost? I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. It depends. Is that the whole world in the future? Like, is every price be like, I don't know, what can you afford? What, this price, like this simplicity that's built into companies, right? This like simple algorithms of mathematics that say like, what's easier for our company if we just make the price for this thing always the same for everyone all the time? Is that where it's going? Or is it that nothing's simple anymore, and as a result, we're just going to defer all of our decision making because pricing's just going to get more and more complicated?
Yeah, I think you were hitting on another fundamental shift that I see happening. It's not yet happened, but I think that's where my chips are. That's where we'll have like personalization, right? Like, I mean, personalization. Look, till now in machine learning, we were all part of some cluster or some bucket.
Yeah.
Right, like and like a bucket, if bucket is one, everybody gets the same price. If the bucket is like individual, like lowest atomic unit is you as an entity, right? Like but machine learning algorithms were not that granular, right? Like because of the sparse data problem, and they were like we would always be in part of some cluster, and that cluster would get the same price, and it would simplify things because when you have audit or when you have to explain people, right, you could say that look, I had this bucket. Like, now with the power of like language models and LLMs breakthrough and the technology that we have, I can personalize to you, not only to you as an individual, but also at the time of the day and the intent that you might have. Right? So it's not only just like precise, but the stochasticity that is in our daily life could now be modeled, right? Like there is a shot that I could model because and I think that fascinates me because we haven't, as a scientist, like I haven't built ever that system, right, at scale. Just imagine, right? Like I have to just not only figure out at what point I'll clear the price of Rob, but like at this time of the day, and might guess the mood of the Rob and like what is the, and then price, and that's a different dimension. And I think that's what is possible in this age, and I think that's where the new frontiers are in my mind.
Yeah, and it's crazy to really think that, like my personal view is where it goes. Unfortunately, in my mind, the definition of AI is like very hard to pin down. But if you tried to pin it down, then likely it's going to include a corporation as an AI. It's not going to. There's so many ways to break the definition of AI. If you try to get something that's somewhat close, you're going to end up encapsulating anything that like if it has a tax ID, if it can transact, if it can be held accountable by the law.
Correct. Yeah.
it's an artificial human.
Yeah.
And so by our laws, if our laws, then there's nothing more artificial than our laws, including it as an entity equal to a human, or at least somewhat, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, okay, well, is the airline trying to personalize the price to me, or are they trying to maximize the price to me?
Maximize, yeah, that's what I was going to say. So I think we are talking about the consumer side, but then there is an entire merchant side of the equation, and how do they benefit from this, or a disadvantage, right? Like, I mean, look, in the current commerce world, right? Like, I mean, over last 10 years, we have figured out like how SEO works, right? And then there's a process in place, right? Like if you have to win, you have to go do XYZ things to win in that search ranking. And then humans will figure out how to click it, and then the humans will figure out. Some humans will go and find out even if you're in 10th search, they'll do that. In current world, in the agentic world, in AI era, because AI is directly giving you an answer and abstracting away that cognitive load that you talked about, and it's reducing that load. I don't know how you win. Like, I mean, you win because it isn't, to your point of AI as a corporation, that agent is deciding whether you win or not. And you as a consumer don't care unless until you specifically write that prompt, right? Like, okay, like I want something from XYZ business located in like 2 miles away from me, right? Like, I mean, AI is not going to.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me, right? Like, I mean, like, is AI an instrument of disintermediation? Or, I mean, the prevalent, I mean, I have always believed in my career, like, that AI favors incumbents, right? Like, I mean, it makes a even more stronger. And so what happens to all this?
I love that you brought it up because of two explorations. One, it's clear to me that someone that says, I'll never let an AI choose my flight, hasn't quite thought about the moment that someone explains to them that their AI is explicitly designed to maximize the ticket price. And that as much as you might try to gamify by like, oh, I'll be incognito, and, you know, like, that you will lose. Like, where AI is today, it's smarter than you, you are going to lose. Then you're like, well, then how can I win? I need my AI. Like, I can't talk to it. I need something on my side that is smart as it to buy my ticket for me. So it's less about like, will you let it, and more about, do you trust yourself to not let it? And to your point, like, and will it be, this is my thing, will it be the companies that exploit the consumer, or will the consumer adopt AI so much faster than the companies, that it will be the consumers exploiting the companies before the companies have a chance, because they're moving so much faster at adoption? So now, is it going to be that before companies have a chance to figure this all out, that, you know, a huge portion of the purchases are going to happen through an AI transacting with them as if it's a human, and that they're in the react mode, you know?
No, so I think the war today, it's human versus technology. Tomorrow it will be AI versus AI, right? Like, and that's fascinating, because like, who has more agency? Like, how powerful your AI is, and it's the clash of the objective functions. Right? Like, and so,
who can afford the most electricity?
Yep. And I just was going to say that, and it all boils down to the compute, like whoever controls the compute, right? Like, and that entity decides how this war plays out. And it's fascinating if you think at that metaphysical, it all boils down to one simple thing, which is compute.
Yeah. And which boils down to electricity.
Yeah, which boils down to electricity. And so if you are like, so you can play this game in either of the stacks, right? Like, you can either be in the application layer and see how this plays out, or you can be in the bottommost stack of electricity and then play this out, and you don't care about how this shapes out, because the war will happen. That's my You can see that already, right? I mean, even in my mind, the breakthrough in the last decade and like this human versus technology war was the idea of infinite scroll, right? Like that, like you can keep scrolling and the feed will never end,
Yes.
right? Like, and so it was like
Yeah, the
companies
TV
trying to,
show
and
that never ends, the book
it
that
never
never
ended.
ends. Yeah.
You can show ads on this feed, you can show product feed, and like, and then and to your point, humans lost, like because we got addicted to it, and we like the companies were built around that model. Um, in AI versus AI, it's going to be interesting, right? Like because underneath every agent is an objective function, and that objective function is defined by the context that you gave it, like and so how does this clash play out, right? Like, I mean, it's going to be a very purist versus purist war. Right? Like,
Yeah.
because in my mind, humans were irrational people.
And I was thinking about our laws, like there's laws that protect people from having companies have robots call them,
Okay.
but there's no laws protecting companies from people having robots call them.
Yeah.
So it seems like our laws favor the people, not the company. As much as people want to say the company has the advantage,
Yeah.
I think if you look at the laws,
That's probably just by accident, though, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like we're so paranoid, but the laws favor, so and you think like, there's more unlimited inference to speak of than like if it's who can afford the bigger electric bill, right? The company or me? Well, one of the two has to make money and the other one doesn't.
Yeah. It's like the way you put it, it's fascinating, right? Like AI versus like I'm just imagining in my mind at a very under the hood level how this is getting played out. You have two objective functions clashing, and there has to be a winner. Like it's rational. It's a rational war, like rational versus rational war, not an irrational versus rational war.
Yeah.
So it might be that over in the last 20 years, like we humans might have a chance. Like we can actually, because I can just tell my AI, do not purchase, right? Like, and then so consider this hypothetical scenario, right? Like I want to buy a ticket, like, and my budget is $X, right? Like $1,500, let's say, to plan my next vacation, right? That's my set, and I've moved on from, right? Like I've moved on to my other things in day-to-day, right? And so now my agent is going on to United, to Booking, to Expedia, to everywhere, and trying to basically negotiate that.
Yeah,
and
it's going to say good news, bad news. I got your flight. I got the whole thing booked for $500. That's the good news. The bad news, it cost me $150 in inference.
but that's what, like, I think the providers of this AI will figure out that consumer doesn't have to pay this $150, because consumer hasn't ever paid for technology. Like we have always given our data as a way to use the technology. So I don't know, right? But this what I was
but
doing.
How good is your data if they can't get to you to manipulate you?
Yes, that's
valuable. Is it now?
Yeah, and so we are entering into this new territory. And I think somebody asked me the question the other day, like, who should study? Like, what should people study these days, right? Like, I mean, and I'm like, yeah, you should actually understand the power of AI. You are an economist, you are a psychologist, doesn't matter who you are, because the manifestations are the ramifications of this breakthrough technology is for society. It's no longer a science or an engineering issue anymore. Like it has everything, like payments, like everything, laws, like regulations, governance, like for example, in this example of flight ticket, like how if let's say there is perfect information and no arbitrage on airlines, like all airlines are equally priced, how do I select one? So is there going to be a new second price auction which allows me to basically allow me to choose an agent, right? Like how does like it happen, right? Like rare scenario, because there'll always be arbitrage in the real world. But if there is a perfect, it's not, how do you select? Is it random? Is it first come first serve basis? Is it so that are agents now bidding, and so now is agents negotiating? Like, and so how does, and so you can just keep going on this chain of thought, and I expect a lot of companies to be formed around this, and which is why I think AI rewrites the plumbing of our technology. Like the way,
there could almost be like a scenario where a consumer's AI is the one setting the price, because it could crunch all sorts of numbers on jet fuel and how full certain flights are and time of day and all this stuff, and it could come to the airline and say, this is how much
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're
it all
willing to
ends
pay
up
for
in,
this
in
flight.
like a PayPal kind of bidding auction, right? Everything you buy is an auction. It's a bid in the, it's like the stock market. Everything is,
Yeah.
I'll pay X for this. Anyone willing to?
Yeah. And no, I mean, if the thesis works out and the world actually becomes agents, and there are more agents than websites, I'm talking about an extreme limit, right? Like, I mean, will I as an individual have one agent or multiple agents? Let's say for let's say I have on an average 2 agents that I can manage, right? Like, so my phone is very simple. My mobile phone only has 2 agents, so the apps disappear. It's simple, and every person in US has these 2 agents. So now there are more agents than there are humans who are
Yeah,
transacting on the internet, as we know. And on the other side, there are these companies who are trying to negotiate. And so, to Josh's point, right, like, humans have now a shot to set the price.
yeah,
Like, we can clear the market, right? Like an example, like, if most people set the price that I'm going to go buy this flight for $500, then that's it, because
yeah,
you're not transacting, right? Like,
yeah.
and so it is possible. I can see that happening. But
And you
yeah,
make a really good point because, what I created was a platform like 10 years ago, which is a agent runtime, right? And he was like, well, what is that? Well, think of like air traffic control for agents, right? And you're like, are you managing multiple agents? Like, not really. Like, that's what it sounds like until you start doing it. And then what you realize is it's not about agents, it's about objectives. And you're like, well, how many objectives am I managing at any given time? And the answer is like, once you get going, as many as you can handle. Like, as many as, because you'll just keep filling it.
yeah,
Because the more objectives you can throw out in the world, the more things you can get done. Until you're like, oh my God, all I'm doing is answering questions. Like, I'm delegating. It's like, no, yes, no, yeah. Like, it becomes this like the Obama, green suit, blue suit, gray suit, because like you just need to preserve all your cognitive load for the key decisions that you have to
ADC.
make all day. And it's like this crazy stressful, like, oh my God, stop.
Yeah. I think to just like AI has the power to redistribute the cognitive load, right? Like, I mean, I look, and I'm seeing this example at my household and my friends. My daughter, she's 8 years old, and she likes to talk to Gemini, so she's not
Yeah.
typing. And the amount of data that she has generated and talk is way more than if she would be typing on a prompt. And so our generation, like, we have been trained to do like 2 keywords or 3 keywords or maybe 4 keywords, and then figure out everything in the world. But this young generation is like talking, and so they are giving a lot more context, which means their horizons are expanding. First of all, what the possibilities are in my mind in my daughter's mind are expanding. But then the data that you are generating is much richer.
Oh yeah.
And so this idea that I can personalize to you is now actually possible. And if the day we have a breakthrough in memory, right? Like, because if you see that the AI system is a manifestation of human brain, we have perception figured out, we can sense things, we have learning figured out in forms of supervised and unsupervised reinforcement learning. The next thing is like memory and like memory system. Like, I can retrieve, like, okay, what did this human say like 6 months back? And this idea of going front and back, like oscillating between short-term and long-term memory, the moment that breakthrough happens, now you are on a personalization road.
Agreed. And since I live and breathe that every day, that's what we do. What I can say is there's no breakthrough. It's going to be like this incremental, like it's very steps by step by step. There's no like breakthrough in the future. There's a lot of little problems that are going to add up to like, oh, this starts to work. And the challenges that we face are what we call feature reduction, which is just, how do you have this much context and then boil it down into this much for this task. How do you like distill? It's not the capturing of it. The memory and storing is easy because, like you said, just store every conversation they've ever had. But now I want to book a flight. How do I distill that into just enough, not too much context? Like this whole idea that, we're going to have unlimited, prompt windows, right?
Yeah.
No, that's overfitting. It's never going to work. You could have it. You have to distill that, like we do, into like, what is the right amount of context? Just the right amount that would help that. And that, I think that the key there is the data is either like very specific, like a birthday, or it's data that you can infer, right? So a birthday is, a month, a day, a year. A drinking age is something you can infer from that data.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Static versus derived, and like fixed versus derived, right? Like
implicit
data
versus explicit, right? Like
that's a bit over.
Yeah. And if we can distill the explicit data, like they like this color, therefore they'll like this car, right? Or that's where this gets unlocked. I think that like once we go, how do we take data that's explicit, right? And then you look at like one lens of looking what an LLM is, at least my lens is, it's ultimately a translator from explicit to implicit and back. Like that's what I have. I have something for the first time in history that's really good, where I can give it something implicit and it can make it explicit. It can create a dashboard. It like writes a whole application. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And reverse summarize this book, and I'm like, wow, we have a converter from implicit to explicit. So we do have it now. It's like, how do I use this for booking a flight? How do I sorry, didn't mean to go on. Just
no, but that's that's the fascinating, and I think that's why the name transformers, right? Like it can step up, step down.
Yep.
Like,
you're totally right.
Right. Yep. Like, and I mean, that's so the possibilities I think with this are endless, right? Like how people perceive, and that's why I believe that we are an intelligence age, and this is subjective, right? Like every human being will rationalize how to think of this technology in their own way, in their own how their surroundings are, what their ecosystem is, and then they'll benefit from it.
Yeah, and I think when people talk about AGI, like, oh, pretty soon it'll be as good. Well, I think like that's a red herring. Let's just talk about it for what it is: a tool for converting from implicit to explicit, explicit to implicit, or just explicit to explicit, implicit to implicit, right? Like to get totally technical, you could stay on one side.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the way I have thought in my mind, I mean, is that so far in the technology, like last 20 years, we have been dealing with deterministic technology, right? Like, I mean, they've moved data from point A to point B. Is this data right? Like it was all data. Like human beings never had to grapple except a small breed of data scientists, right? Like on Earth, but pretty much nobody else had to worry about this probabilistic era, right? Like, and LLMs are probabilistic instruments, right? Like, and what do you mean that I wrote a same prompt, and 2 times I got a different answer, right? Like, I mean, it is because it is an instrument of probability, to your point, right? Like, I mean, sometimes when I'm doing this conversion, the gist is right, the summary is right, but the choice of word might be here and there. And that happens with human. If somebody were to ask me on a topic 2 times in single shot, right? Like I will get it, like and my essay will most likely will not be exactly same verbatim. And so human beings are also probabilistic in their day-to-day life. I mean, the choice of words that I'm using on this talking to you, right? Like it's probably like my gist is the same, like but the word choice is different. Same happens with LLM. So human beings are probabilistic. LLMs are also probabilistic, right? Like they are element, and which is why also when the technology came, when ChatGPT came in our life, right? Like human beings just accepted it because it was like them. There was no resistance, right? I mean, if somebody were to go to tell me like pre-GPT era that look, hey, I think the answer will be different 2 times when you ping, like you would probably get fired. The discussion is over, like that meeting is over, right? But
it's broken.
It's broken, right? But human beings accepted this, and it has to do with this deep psychology that we are also that person, and then like we hallucinate, like they hallucinate,
Yeah.
like so and so that's why there was this acceptance and just like you. And second thing about humans were that we just accept awesome technology and then we just normalize it the next day. Like it's
Yeah.
just no part of your life. I mean, my first ride in Waymo was like, what is going on? Where is the driver? Now you're
Next thing
freaking
you know,
out.
you're checking your
You're
email.
checking, and then next I'm like, hey, is the driver? It's like, is Waymo? Hey, I'm in Waymo. Like, so let's talk.
Yeah.
Right? And you feel safe and secure, right? And
I was thinking
same
about
thing.
those people who were like having sex in the back and they had to stop it. Like, oh, they definitely got it fast.
Yeah. And so all sorts of things will like happen, and I think every human being, depending on where they are, like in the technology, like in the information age, will grapple with AI, right? Like, and so people who
Yeah.
are progressive, who are much closer to this, will accept it overnight. And then I mean, what I think I read somewhere that like technology follows a 8-year cycle or a 6-year cycle. You are in year 3 of AI or year 4 of adoption, and I think this dramatically changes the way we do things,
Yeah.
right? Like so that's how I see
Totally.
all coming along.
If someone came to you and said, "Hey, I need you to create a transformer, right? That goes from implicit to explicit or explicit to implicit,
Interesting. Yeah.
and I need it to work 100% of the time."
Yeah.
You'd be
Yeah.
like, "It's not possible because there's so many ways to take something that's implicit and make it explicit. There's like 1,000 different right answers, and then there's the edges that are like they'll go from 10%, 20%, and then who reads it and who decides if it's right, and like it's an impossible task." So the idea that these things will stop hallucinating is to suggest that there's a right answer to going from implicit like
To explicit. Yeah.
to explicit or back. There's like the right way to summarize something, and the answer is like, no, there's just degrees of wrong, and yeah, it's not going to be consistent because it's not always picking the same, but it could.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
I mean,
people,
yeah.
as you know, like if you dial the temperature to 0,
Yeah.
it's boring.
Yeah.
It doesn't work very well.
Yes.
But yeah.
We've been talking a lot about this other kind of key feature of agentic AI, sort of a more evolved feature, but this ability to run simulations,
Yeah.
right? And how important that is and what that unlocks. And I think because too, Prakhar, you studied aerospace engineering at Caltech, right? So you kind of probably have like a deep well of experience with both the power and necessity of simulation in high risk environments, and then like how that might unlock a lot of the potential in agentic AI, if it can be like taking all these layers of data and really creating all these different kind of probabilistic outcomes and then presenting you with the best 3 that you can choose from.
Correct. Yeah. And I think you that's a very good point. I mean, so we are in the stage where it's tool access, like agentic AI, like you give LLMs access to tools. Today, the tools are data and APIs in software world. But take an example of flow over an airplane, right? Like, I mean, Navier-Stokes equation, right? Like the solving Navier-Stokes equation is one of the hardest and still an unsolved problem. It's one of the top, it's a millennium's, it's a Clay Prize top unsolved, it's the top 10 unsolved problems in humanity right now. And there's $1 million prize from the Clay Institute, right? To solve that Navier-Stokes equation, I mean, you have to have finite element methods. You have to figure out all the sorts of equations. Like, there is a possibility that if I were to have access to AI and give AI access to pretty much every simulation or flow experiment that I have done in the past, humanity, it might narrow my search space, right? Like, and so the job of PhD student, like if I am a professor, I'm a researcher, and I have this like 2 PhD students who are trying to figure out what experiment. I mean, I was doing experiments at Caltech, and like one of my hardest jobs was like, what experiment should I run? Like to validate like those simulations, right? Because while simulations can run on raw compute power, experimentations are limited by time of the day, right? Like, I mean, your thesis is 5 years, right? Like it's so I would love absolutely this tool, because like, okay, like here is the simulation, here is the of the 50 simulations that I've done in the past, I think 2 are most likely candidate from all the data that I have analyzed, and I think you should try this out. And even better, if I can create a replica of my experimental conditions, and then to the point that LLMs can analyze large amount of data through orchestration of various tool access and in a multi-agent system, yeah, now you have my PhD thesis is not taking 5 years.
Yep. I'm experiencing this other, so there's two dimensions of this. There's the one you're talking about, which is like, can it solve the puzzle? Right.
Yeah.
Which of course, like we're going to get there. Not every puzzle, but better than we can solve them faster. Right. And then there's the part that I'm more interested in just because no one else is, which is so often someone out there has the right answer already. And it takes like the world is round. Like how long? It's like it's not that humanity hasn't figured it out. It's that humanity as a whole hasn't become aware. But there's a person somewhere who has. And is that step one where we're just at least truth can get out? So I have this interesting scenario with my company where agent runtime. Now, if you go to Google and Google agent runtime, it's there's almost nothing. But if you go to ChatGPT and say, what is it? It explains exactly what we do.
Correct.
Like to the T, right? And so it knows because we're like this niche right now, right? We're like, oh, agent runtime. I don't know what that is. And before the LLM, we're lost until we get our marketing gears together, right? And get out there and, spend $50 million screaming agent runtime. We're just going to be in the background. And then somebody who gets $50 million is going to scream agent runtime and everyone's going to go, oh, it got invented, right?
Yeah.
And so the question is like, is there all kinds of places now we could start looking? Like, is there answers in that LLM today? We're just not asking the right questions.
And that has to do with the limitations of, because human brain has been trained to just write keywords. Like because we are not asking. And so you asked like, what is the most important skill that like in the future, right? Like what I want to do. And it's like, it's asking questions.
Yeah. And
like
I think,
that is I think the most important skill, right? I mean, if you, so let's say I go on that agent runtime example, right? Like what is agent runtime? And like it gave me a response, but then I can ask, how should I use agent runtime? Here is my project. Like, here is my thing. Like, can you just now figure out? So I can just keep going in the next step. It's not just giving me facts about agent runtime. It is also telling me how it can connect to my business or my task at hand. And so, and it just narrows it just takes you on a trajectory that was practically impossible in the day, and it's all sitting on, it's on demand. It's like maybe it's on your cell phone right now, and then that's the power of language. So it's like, I think the most important skill is going to be asking the right questions, and then you go on the chain of thought, right? Like just go, no question is wrong, and just keep writing, right? Like and that's a structured thinking and like asking right questions and connecting the dots.
Yeah. Like, I think there's nobody that would be watching this podcast that wouldn't be intensely curious to see all your questions, like to want to see all of your questions you've asked an LLM in the last month, because they'd be super interesting compared to, the average person that wasn't a scientist and into AI,
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting that like people might be more interested in your questions now than your answers? I mean, I don't know what that means, but
no, that I mean, look, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I'm inspired by the brain, right? Like how, and then if you talked about AGI and super intelligence, and if you say that, look, how is brain able to do this? Like what is the structure of the brain, right? Like, can you help me understand the various functions of the brain? And so I asked this very simple prompt, like, is there any parallels between the brain as we understand today and the models that are getting built today? Like, it's a very simple, like, thought-provoking question. And take me on a journey. All I wrote was take me on a journey, and step by step, right? Like, and then I kept on asking, like, okay, like let's start with perception and learning. Like, we understand that very well, right? Like, we have sensors, we have computer vision models, we have natural language, right? So we understand perception. Like, tell me the analogous of perception in human brain. Is it modular or not, or is it just one giant model? And when I went on to that journey with Claude, I was doing this, and I realized that the brain is highly modular. And then I got connected as like, yeah, maybe when an unfortunate things happen and we meet with an accident or some life incident and some part of the brain gets damaged, it's not like we just shut off. Right, like because because the brain is highly modular, right? Like because it's like, okay, like you lose just perception, and then even perception, our nature has hedged it, right? Because there is eyes, there's ears, there is nose, right? Like and so the brain is like this like highly diversified, hedged, highly modular system. And that got me thinking into, I mean, aerospace engineers love systems engineering because it's about interaction of the parts rather than the performance of single part, right? Like, and so I'm like, so maybe in AI, it's a multi-agent system problem, and how two agents interact, that is more important than the performance of single agent. And that like is a break, because that now it's like you're evolving a thinking, right? Like, okay, so now like when I'm doing it, and then you can just keep going on this and all that was one night sitting after dinner, like you're sitting and you're like, okay, let me just go on this journey, right? And so LLMs are passive instruments, right? They didn't prompt me to talk about brain. So the ask from humans is ask the question.
Yeah.
Go on a journey. Just write that prompt. Go on a journey. Take me on a journey, right? Like,
Yeah.
and see what happens, and you will be amazed.
Yeah. And we see like with Grok Heavy, now you're walking over and not asking one agent a question. You're asking 4 agents a question.
The question, yes. Yeah.
And they're all going out concurrently, answering it in different ways. And then there's a 5th agent that's distilling this down to the best answer. And they're like, why not? Because we're lazy. The cognitive load piece again, right?
Yes, yeah. And so in that example, in my example, I think we distributed a cognitive load upfront, right? Like and so if you see where I was using my brain, I was just trying to ask the next question.
Yeah.
And I was getting wowed, right? Like, can I pass an exam on this? Probably no. Will I write an ICML paper on that 45-minute conversation? No. But I got enough that I can spin off a research, right? Like that it will not be like it like I can write a proposal on it. I can now talk to more well experts on this.
Yeah.
And people will will have a conversation with you, right? As opposed to, hey, I don't know how brain works.
It's a fascinating
It's such a powerful example of something that came up, I think, when we were speaking recently with Cassie Kozyrkov, who is the first and former chief decision scientist at Google.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah. And she was talking about like that the key skill that humans can bring when in this age is like knowing how to ask for advice. And that's kind of what you're talking about. Like, you know, in the past you had to kind of bide your time and seek out these moments that you might get to ask advice of someone who could truly give you a really helpful answer. But now you have this tool that, as you just kind of demonstrated, it's not necessarily just asking that one question.
Yeah.
It's having this ongoing engaged discussion with it. And really the take me on a journey thing is really quite brilliant, because it shows that you can really use these tools to extend your learning and personalize it just in 45 minutes in an evening.
Yeah. And I think if you look at so Josh, like to adding to your thought process, like if you look at humanity, like, I mean, our earlier scientists like Leonardo da Vinci, Archimedes, like Euler, they were all polymaths. Like they could easily, like the fluidity which they've moved branches, like they went from like physics to understanding like structural engineering to now understanding math. That was like seamless. Like ask a human today, right? And so our history demonstrates as a proof that humans were polymaths, and then they could prove it, like, but somewhere because of going to school and going through the structured process of our life, and like we somehow became, this was narrowed down into, hey, you are born to your expertise is because that's what you did in college, and that's your career, and LLMs give everybody a chance.
Yeah,
literally that like you can be anybody, like this like, but you just have to try, because the only problem with LLMs today are they're passive instruments, right? Like they're not active and
yet.
Yeah.
Like we're about to see that unfold soon, I think, when people start putting them outbound.
Yeah,
but yes.
I hear they're getting wallets too. So
yeah, they're gonna get wallets, and boy, watch out.
And I think the idea of payments is interesting. Like you're having agents pay for something. Like what happens if something goes wrong? To your point, AI is a corporation, who is liable, and how do you legitimize something on the internet, right? Like, I mean, the HTTPS standard was created to know that this website is legit, right? That I can
Yeah.
go to United, like I can go to like, but consider a scenario, right? Like there's Taylor Swift concert, and like literally millions of agents are now trying to grab that seat, right? Like, and I on the other side can hack up Ticketmaster and create a new persona of Ticketmasters, and then now agents are getting diverted, thinking this is the original Ticketmaster, right? Like, but I'm not, and I'm just doing it to divert the traffic because I want to win. So there's all sorts of things that humans will do, and they will do it, and
I
maybe AI
know.
itself does it, because if my agent is say AI is powerful than yours, and I said do anything to get me Taylor Swift ticket, then maybe my AI decides to spin off a hacky Ticketmaster, and then divert the other agents to it so that I get the spot there. It's totally, it's in the realm of possibility, and so I think there's a layer of identity and trust needs to be built. Some sort of a standard needs to
100%.
be built, right? Like, and some of the early works that we are doing inside the company, right? PayPal right now is like, okay, what is that identity? Like in 25 years back, PayPal made that identity possible, right? Like, I mean, you should not be worried about entering your credit card information on the
Yes.
internet. And I think same thing might happen here
100%.
also. So that's, I
Yeah.
think, the evolution. And the last point I'll say is on this journey of like when I take me on a journey, I see young people like when it might have a negative effect on humans because they might just become less social. Like okay, like if I can talk to Gemini, why do I need to talk to parents?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
right? Like I am having a difficult time in the school, right? Like or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like help me with. And so now
I
because
can't negotiate a price. I've never done it. My
yes,
AI
yeah.
has always done it.
Yes,
Like,
and so there's this social
yeah,
side of things, and that's why
100%.
AI is a universal technology. It's a general purpose technology, right? Like and how do we shape it? It's up to us as a
Yeah.
humanity, right? Like I mean, like and so yeah, which is why everybody should study this AI.
Yeah.
It's
I
not good.
this this I'm really fascinated with the like so let's look at we'll use PayPal. Like
Yeah,
why not? Digital money,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's all digital money. Where there's Bitcoin, it's digital money. And I put it in the context of like they're not going to print the penny anymore. Like the penny is gone, right? Which to me is the beginning of the end of money, like non-digital money, right? Because you just made it. You went from like micro pennies, which is where we need to be going, like fractions of a penny, to like I can't even spend a penny now. I have to spend a nickel. So it's like the wrong direction, right? That money needs to go. Well, a lot of people believe, right? So there's a lot of thought out there that we need to be able to spend 100th of a penny, right? Where if I go to a website and it's a New York Times article that I can spend half a penny, and and if my agents are going out there spending half a penny and a tenth of a penny and 100th of a penny, then that starts to help legitimize data information because now there's a cost, to all of it, right? Like what we know from like spam, for example, is that and versus SMS messages is that once it costs something, there's less spam,
yep,
right?
correct, yeah,
Once there's a cost to it, and if trust is an issue, and now AI agents aren't a single browser serving the web for a good deal, it's 1,000 browsers on your behalf searching the web. And the cost to your bandwidth, the cost to the companies, like the traffic is just gonna be massive, right? Like once we see this go multi-threaded, like oh my god, so then something has to get it under control. And there's a lot of people, including myself, that believe like we need agents to be able to spend 100th of a penny. We need to go like not penny above penny. We need to go like into the fractions of a penny.
yeah.
Sub penny.
So it's like agent to agent payments, right? Like, and that
Yeah.
can happen in any denomination, right? Like, I mean, to your New York Times example, right? Like, I mean, if I just want to read, I don't want to buy the full newspaper, right? Like, I'm not interested in like everything, but I just want to read that particular column news, and you can totally see that economy getting created where like, yeah, like this article, this section costs tenth of a penny, right? Like, and is available to you for next 2 hours, right? Like, if you want it for full day, then maybe it costs you a penny, right? Like, and so you could see all sorts of economies getting created, right? Like assuming that New York Times, and to your point of legitimacy, there's trust there. Know your agent concepts, so the identity is there, right? Like and yeah, and the context is there, right? I mean, like for example, I was doing this when I was entering data science. I did this in News Insights project, like first foray into data science, and the idea was I just wanted to understand, say, about a topic like cooking or tell me about economic or stock market news, right? Like, and then my data science model would crawl the websites and all the CNNs and New York Times, and then say, okay, what is happening in the stock market on Wall Street Journal, and then synthesize for me. That was my project like 10 years back, and it took me forever to build that, but I got it working. Today, you could legitimize that. I mean, I can have an agent. I can get up in the morning and say, like, tell me what's happening in the stock market, and it goes and crawls 50 different news sources, pays for it if it has to pay because it has a budget to it, 3 cents, and then get me a very distilled news and get me, and then maybe I can say, okay, you know what? I see the positive sentiment. Go buy this. like it's possible, right? Like it's there's nothing blocker in the technology, and I think we are at a point where science is there. I think the technology AGI is enough there. The engineering is getting there every day, and the humans, we as the consumer, have accepted it. We have accepted it 2 years back.
It's all there,
right?
all the pieces. And if you think about it, we're doing it just in the reverse. So when you think about like who's paying for your traffic in the free sites, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be an advertiser, and that advertiser is paying a fraction of a penny. But to them, it's a single transaction because they just pay their one advertising bill, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's not like us going site to site, like, yes, put in your credit card. Okay, that's 1/100th of a penny. Oh, now let me read this article. Like, it's the transaction costs that prevent this from happening. But if the AI is doing it, it doesn't care. Like, it's like, no problem.
And you started the conversation with, like, I think the role of technology is to bring the transaction cost down or something, right? Like, and this will drive the transaction cost down, right? So it's a full circle. So I think the fundamentals of technology will stay with AI, but I think the mechanics will fundamentally change, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so the first principle thinking, like trust, fraud and all. I mean, fraud will evolve 100%, right? I mean, we just talked about one fraud scenario, and that's where human beings will always be ahead. to example of polymath, but then I mean, this economy is has to get created with AI. That's my core belief.
Yeah, and there's so many implications to this, like micropayments, you know.
Micropayments, yeah.
Is there a reason you think? Is it just simply the transaction cost of making a micropayment? Like, is it the human transaction? Do you think that's the only reason it's just not a thing?
I think it's getting the right now it's not a thing because there was no there was no concept of agent to begin with, and like there has to be agent on the merchant side and on the consumer side, right? If you were to make a bet, we as a consumer want these agents who goes and buys an article for me for 10th of a penny. The enterprises are not ready, right? Like, because they are still stuck in just imagine, like, if I was an enterprise today, I had to like in last 10 years, I had to understand like website creations. Then I had to go on a cloud journey. Then I had to go on a mobile journey. And so then I am just on this journey all the time. And now, wait, you're telling me you're an AI journey, and which basically rewrites everything what you have done in the past in terms of plumbing. It builds on top of it, but it rewrites your plumbing. And so then the talent in the companies is different. And so now you just keep on going into the chain as to why first time consumer is driving the need and forcing enterprises and corporations to innovate rather than like they pushing. Like, remember, I think it was Steve Jobs or somebody said that like consumer doesn't know what they want, and so it's our job to give them what they want. But now that is reversed, right? The consumer is screaming like, I want this, like give me this, like and then enterprise are like catching up, and you throw all sorts of issues, like there's regulation law. No, dude, there is no, like it's just you are not ready, and you should get ready, and that's what I think is happening.
Yeah, and it's a crazy thought to think that like reading an article could end up pricing wise being as complicated as getting a flight, meaning every person paying a different amount based on the
amount, right?
popularity of the article, based on
And
who you
at
are, what
time of
time
the
of
day,
day.
and the time of the day, it's like markdowns in the retail, right? The croissants are getting like expensive in the morning, but by the day, I'm going to throw them. This article has
Yeah.
limited value after 5 p.m.
And the next
Uh,
day it's half off.
yeah, and so I
Yeah.
think you could totally see this playing out.
And how
Yeah.
much of that is even visible to the consumer? Like
They
how,
don't care.
you could probably have a temperature on your concierge agent. Like I don't care about anything more than a penny. So just
Penny.
do what you want.
Do what you want, right? Like and figure
Yeah.
out, and because that's what I say, like in intelligence age, the role of in information age, the role of AI was filtering the decisions and like removing the noise, and so that you can get to the signal. Here it is just full action. Like it abstracts a bit, like it's like it's and it that's powerful, right? Because like it goes to the next step of action.
Yeah.
And in the AI stack, like if you look at the stack, like perception, learning, search, and optimization is where we spend all our time, right? Like okay, like and so now the AI just skips that and just goes to action. And I don't care like how many websites you search, because all I want is the sentiment of market today. Like what will Fed do tomorrow, right? Like I just want what an experts are saying, and I can say, well, summarize the answer, or try to understand all the data that you collected from the internet in the way Warren Buffett would understand and analyze. I can totally write this prompt, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I don't want you to just analyze it. I just want to analyze the way Warren Buffett would do.
Yeah.
And now you are like, and so now I can keep on listing name of all the top investors, and then they're like, maybe I'm learning. So you see, like prompt is the most powerful thing right now.
100%. So do you think like the future of transactions like a PayPal, this is one possible future, not like, do you think this is the future, but one possible future is where it essentially is almost like the place where someone places a bid, like the stock market, like it's a place where someone can place a bid, somebody else can either accept or place an offer, and essentially is the trusted transaction to make sure that there's no fraud. Like
It's the clearinghouse. It's the
Yeah.
clearinghouse.
Yeah.
It's the clearinghouse, and it's the exchange, right? Like
Yeah.
exchange
Exchange,
provides.
thank you. Yes.
Exchange
Yes.
provides like the
That was the word I was
legitimacy,
looking for. Yeah.
right? Like legitimacy is like stocks are crashing, right? Like
Yeah.
it shuts down, it puts a halt, right? Like and I think that's what it is. That's what I mean that's what PayPal was 27 years back, and I think
Right.
that's what. So the core mission of the company is a change. It just like we have to figure out how the mechanics of that trust will look like, and today, like what we are talking about is we are assuming that today the models are trained in a legitimate way, right? Like one can argue that even the next generation of models that are getting trained, like maybe you legitimize that training also. I mean, I'm an enterprise and I want this data, just legitimize it. It also becomes a conduit, a safe conduit, right? Like that this source of data is true, this is not true, and so I will provide, and you can train it also. So it has all sorts of ramifications in the economy, and so sometimes I feel, right, like yeah, I mean it's like amazing. It's like the first principles are there, but the mechanics, everything after that is
I
completely
know.
changed, and so
Yeah.
you sometimes feel dinosaur. You're like,
Yeah.
how do, and so you have to constantly evolve and read yourself. I think there was a paper 3-4 days back, or maybe last week, which talks about, I think from Microsoft, that talks about the jobs that might become obsolete or like are most impacted because of AI. Like the paper, right? And data scientist was one of them. Right? And I'm a data scientist, right? Like that's how I started my career, and I'm like, maybe because the value that we brought to the table was which model is the right model, and then go code that up in Python, and then figure out but that's a prompt today.
Yeah. I think it's missing. I think it's too close to what you do versus what your objective is.
Yeah.
So I think if you focused on data scientists and what they do, okay, but no one hires a data scientist for what they do. They hire them for an objective.
Yeah.
And I don't think the objective's going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think how they get to the objective might change.
Yes. So that's why I said the first principles objectives are intact.
Yeah.
It's the mechanics that have changed, right? the lines are like, it has ramifications, right? Like, how do you run an organization, right? Like, a software engineer now wants to learn AI, right? Like, because they should learn AI. A data scientist is like, I need to move in engineering second. So lines are, even the role definitions are changing right now, right? Like, is the future just AI engineer in the valley? Is everybody an AI developer?
I
Right?
don't know. It's so complicated because like it suggests we're going to make the same software and not more complicated software, and like everything's so dynamic,
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But you said something. This exchange thing, I just want to tap on it, especially for people. I think there's some people out there who think like Bitcoin or this that they like exclude the exchange, but I don't think people understand that they require an exchange. Like there's no currency out there that's useful that doesn't
Yeah.
include an exchange of
Yes.
some kind.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. I was thinking, yeah, because you're like, will AI use Bitcoin? And the answer is, well, at some point it needs an exchange. It just
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our history, human history, right? Our past, since we have document, there was always an exchange. There was
Yes.
always, like, doesn't matter which level of locality you were, you would always go to the trading port and you would go to that
Exactly.
mercantile exchange. And because it was all because of trust and legitimacy, because what we talked so far was about the positive side of humans, but there's the equally negative side of things, and that might and so how do you underwrite fraud, right? Like, how do you do that? I think so. Exchange is needed, right? You talked about crypto, right? Like, just imagine if the crypto exchanges were not there, right? Like, what
Yes.
happens?
Nothing. It's useless.
It legitimize. It tells you the price. It tells you what the fluctuations are. There is some legitimacy that it brings to the table.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and in agentic AI, like, which one can argue is more real. Like, for people who are detractors of crypto will not believe in crypto, but like this is a different thing. You can't say anything. This is real.
Yeah.
This is a new way humans will operate.
People that say they'll never use crypto are already using ChatGPT to choose what product to buy.
Yes.
Already.
Yeah. Yes. And so it's a different so exchanges are needed. Yeah.
Yeah. And AIs need exchanges more so.
Yes.
Because their ability to commit fraud is better than ours.
Yeah. So we are imagining a system where it's AI. And exchange is also an AI, right? Like, because it's like it has to interact with
You're
AI.
right.
So
It's three. It's a party of three. Yes.
Party of three. And so, like, in exchange, you would have like humans only, right? Like, but that inside this exchange, there's AI, whose job is more governance and all. And then there is like supply demand in a marketplace. It's like a registry. It's like one can imagine maybe a registry of legitimate agents in the world. That itself is an exchange, right? Like a job. Like, what are the best top 10 travel agents in the world, right? Like top 10 like payment agents in the world, top 10 like search agents in the world, right? Like, and I sometimes think, like, what is the role of, maybe the search evolves from URL to agent search. I don't know. How do you find something?
Yeah. How did they find something?
Yeah. I
you
think
don't
Google
find anything anymore.
Yeah. How do they find? Like, so that's why I think Google came up with this protocol, like agent to agent protocol, right? Like, which I think tries to address this problem, right? Which is how do I, A2A protocol,
MCP,
like how do I find, how do you offer your services in an agentic manner, and then how do I discover you?
So us nerds in AI that have been doing this when it wasn't cool, I've been thinking about this for a while. There's something out there called SingularityNet. The guy who actually, Ben Gertzel, who actually, we've had him on the show a couple of times, and he really popularized the term AGI. He's been thinking of, like, singularity, not back to 8 years ago. It's agents. They didn't call them agents. We didn't call them agents. Crypto and reputations. And the idea is you put your AI project, like, review this document up for bid, and then different AIs bid on it. And then there's a reputation component to help the AI choose which one. And then it does the job and returns the job. And this all happens without any human interaction. And he's been doing this for a long time. Like, that's what I mean. It's the answers to some of the things that we say haven't happened yet they are happening just
They are happening.
in some place, in some corner, because for whatever reason, Ben didn't go get $50 million and tell the world he's doing it. He's had this whole
Yes,
time, but
this,
no
yeah,
one cares. And I don't
yeah.
know
Well,
why.
yeah, I mean, it's remarkable that, like, I think it's Ben and Ray, I think their work, they were also saying that, look, human beings will
Yes.
follow this path, right? Like, and it's remarkable that how were they able to make those predictions, right? And they are turning out to be true. I mean, you are on the trajectory, right? Like, I mean,
Yep.
you can, yes, is it perfect? It's not, but like technology is never perfect, right? I mean, one can argue that like, your cell phones have a flaw, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so, but it's remarkable that how some individuals who were so deep in the technology, like even before there was not even a root, transformers were not there till 2017. They predicted it way before that we will be on this trajectory, right? Like that's like next level, like immense respect.
I know. And now it's happening so fast that people feel like they have time, but and I think the pressure is not. I think a lot of folks think it's in the invention, the speed of invention, but it's the speed of adoption by average people that's driving the speed, not the. What's uncommon, I think,
Yeah.
isn't that we're inventing faster than we ever have, although I think we are. But I think what's more uncommon is the speed in which we're adopting. And I think that's the part people haven't registered. They still think we're adopting at the same old pace. They don't see that ChatGPT is the fastest adopted product in the history of products.
Yeah, it's like what 700 million weekly, like that's like I mean, so like that's remarkable, right? Like that, just that very metric itself, the way, as I said, humans, and so look, and I think that has to do with the. I asked this question to Claude the other day and GPT the other day, like how, because I was not able to grapple my brain, right? Like I come to terms with it that like imperfect technology, clearly imperfect from a view where at least where I was standing. Why is my mom embracing it?
Yes.
And it's wrong. It's getting wrong. But they're like, hey, it got it wrong. See, and it had to do with the notion that AI always makes you powerful, right? Like it's like the Chat GPT was like, yeah, humans are in command, right? You are superior, right? Like and then it got hooked, right? Because it was always about how to outperform it. And so you got hooked to it, right? Like there were like blogs written, like okay, like how, like and I think the response was that it's innate desire for humans to win, to show your supremacy. It's to show your supremacy that you are better, right? Like you are.
Yes,
we can't
gamified.
do that. Yeah, we can't do that with cell phones, right? Or with like with a website.
Yeah.
Like, how do I prove to a website?
Interesting.
How do I prove to a website that I am superior, right? Like, but with Chat GPT, you can prove yourself that you are God.
I never thought of that, but it's gamified inherently. Yeah. I was kind of attributing it to the fact that we tend to like, there's always this like circle of familiarity. Like in here, it's boring. Out here, it's fun. Out here, it's unfathomable, right? And so everything we invent has to be like 10 or 20% different than what we're familiar with. And we know this in UX, that if you create a UI that's just completely reinvents UIs, no one uses it because you have to like incrementally, and that this technology is so human that it's familiar. And so we've broken the donut because it's always familiar. So we can go way out here because it's familiar. But your point, I think it's now I'm going to recant that and say it's 50-50. I think it's familiar and it's gamified.
I mean, and I'll give examples. So my mom, right, like back in India, she's a cook, right? Good cook, right? Like she asked how to make a biryani or something, right? And she wasn't happy with ChatGPT's answer or Gemini's answer. And she kept on asking it, like, okay, why did you do this? And in the process, like, I was like, Mom, you burned so much compute to get to that. And to what extent that your biryani is better. Okay, got it, right? And I think that cemented my idea, right? Like that, I think because it's an instrument that makes you feel powerful.
Yeah.
And it validates you. Like, I mean, it will validate, like you can go on the journey, it validates you. And so, and it's like, it's the mood you are in. Like if you're in a discovery mode, you are in this mode, like, and it validates you. Like, I mean, if I was a student right now and I am having a hard time answering a question, right? Like, I mean, maybe it says, yes, the question is hard, but here is how you solve it. It validates you, right? Like, it doesn't say, no, hey, you don't know what to do. You're doing in life.
Great
and
question.
Which is, so great. Like, it says great questions, right? Like, oh, you are on to something incredible.
And so you're above average.
You have, and I think that aspect of the way we have done alignment of AI and the post training
has made it addictive.
It validates. I think technology has never validated a single human being.
Yeah.
Right. But
it makes us feel dumb. We can't figure out how to use this thing. I'm stupid. I guess everyone else can. I must be the dumb one. Yeah.
You can talk to it. You can say whatever you want, right? And then you can be anybody, right? Like, I mean, my dad learned how to play Sudoku on Gemini.
Nice.
That's like pretty amazing, right? Like how you could do it. Like, he didn't call me. I was like, I should have taught him, but he just picked it up on his own, right? Like, and it's a good. So I think that's what is going on 50% of the time, apart from human curiosity.
Yeah, it's this alignment between they make more money with inference, so the more it engages you. So they have this perfect excuse, which is called alignment, to make it gamified, and they're like, oh no, we're just aligning it.
Correct. Yeah.
We're just being positive. I'm not saying it's intentional. Like, it's the perfect storm. Like the events that collect and coalesce.
And I don't think like the designers, the creators thought of this way. It just worked out this way, right? Nobody knew that. Like, they sat in a room and said, "This is what we'll do." But a probabilistic instrument that validates you is what perfect thing that a humanity needed. And like,
it was as probabilistic and less deterministic as the LLM itself.
Correct. Yeah, and so that's why this cocktail is on the rise. And in the enterprise setting, the reason why adoption is slow right now and is ramping up is because enterprise is all about deterministic answer. Like, you can't walk into the meeting with the CFO and say, I thought the numbers are this, right? Like, and I use generative AI. Like, that meeting is over, and so that's why they have this resistance. But it has to do not with the state. It's the same technology, but it has to do with the fact that maybe there's more engineering needed. Maybe there are custom AIs for each enterprise rather than a general purpose technology from the consumer side that is needed, right? Like, and to going back to the idea of multi-agent systems and systems engineering, right? Maybe, so in an enterprise, there is more engineering breakthrough that needs to happen for it to adopt, right? Like, or a universal standard. But on consumer side, you have clearly won.
Yeah. Well, this was great conversation, man. We got to do this again. I
loved it. Yeah, I also like it. Was amazing. It was very organic.
As we like it.
Yeah, that's how we like it. Yeah, it's fascinating. Thanks, Prakhar.
No, thank you for having me. It's an honor, right? Like, I mean, I also, my brain, I will go ask ChatGPT some questions now.
What's an agent runtime?
And how does it connect? Like I'll ask. So thank you for having me and having PayPal.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us again here on Invisible Machines. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Always remember that you can watch this podcast too on our Invisible Machines YouTube channel. Head over to uxmag.com. We have a podcast page there where you can explore our back catalog and you can look at episodes centered around popular topics. Many, many thanks to our incredible production team here in the US and in Ukraine: Elias Parker, Michael Litvinov, Allison Harshberger, Alla Slesarenko, Vera Pokodkov, and Darina Moskovchuk. Till next week, Owagi.